Okay, today's video, I'm going to show you how I make my ballistics gel. First of all, here's some of the things you're going to need. This is the gel I use. You can get this online. It's about $40. Makes 3 gallons. There's 2 pounds in here. You need a gallon of water, a pot to mix the water and gel in, and a container. I have used these in the past. Only problem with these is they are not quite half a gallon, so when you fill these up you still have leftover and need a third container. But these work well. You know, if you have more than a couple, you'll have one with just a little bit left in there, and that's fine. But I found these online. These are 5-liter containers, which is great because 4 liters is a gallon. These are like 6 by 6, 7 inches tall, and they don't have a lot of taper to them, and they don't have any molding on the inside. They're square, so this is really good. And yeah, that's how they'll be sitting. Got these online, a pack of 4 for about $17. And they also have this little crisper thing you can put in, so you can actually use these for vegetables and other stuff to store. This gel is food grade, so you know, little soap and water, they're fine. You can put food in here. The gel's not going to contaminate anything. And you're going to need a scale. This is 2 pounds. You're going to have to separate it into thirds. Silicone I prefer to mix with. It's easy to clean up. And when we reclaim our gel, you're going to have to get the fibers and particles out of the gel. You're going to use a strainer, and I use 1 or 2 pieces of wet bandana to strain them out with. It works good. So just wanted to show one more thing. I got this box that I made by taping a couple of boxes together. It just happened to work perfectly to elevate the gel on for posting up videos. It's a good height, and you know, camera will look at it pretty eye level and stuff. Also enough room for a second catch block on there. So I'm gonna take you step by step through this and we'll get started. Okay, now we're gonna divide the 32 ounces into 3 containers. It's 10.3 ounces per container. I had a little mix up at first, is why we're not pouring straight from the container, but we probably should use this one first. There we go, 10.3 ounces. I'm only making the 1 gallon right now, so we'll save that for later. Again, we're going to do 10.3. Too much. 10.3. Those for later. Watch me fuck up on camera now. This should be 10.3, if not just a little bit over. So there's 10.3. Have a little extra. If you want to be precise, you could spoon that out into the other 2 bags. May have been a little over 2 pounds in the bag to begin with. This block's just going to be have a little extra in it. It's not that serious. So let's get started. So here we go. Our gallon of water. And we're gonna add this gel to our water slowly and just mix it in. Get in there. Just a little bit at a time, mix it. Don't want any clumps. Probably a little too much at one time. You always want to add your gel to the water. Don't put your gel in first and pour water on top. You'll have a mess. It's okay if you have a little bit of bubbles. It's not going to hurt anything. It's going to turn to an applesauce-like consistency after this is all mixed together. And you're going to leave it so the water's being absorbed into the gel. It's called blooming. You give it 2 hours or whatever. It's not going to hurt anything. In my experience, it doesn't help anything either, but a couple hours is about right. I don't know if you can hear on the video, it's starting to thicken up just a little bit. And one thing I forgot to mention before is that, this is a animal byproduct. I believe this particular gel is a pork product. It will spoil and will stink. To prevent that, or to preserve it as long as we can, just add a little bit of hydrogen peroxide. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, just a little bit. That's probably good. And this will help preserve your gel for a little longer, so it doesn't develop any mold. In my experience, it's never gotten to that point. It's always become unusable because it was too cloudy to see the wound tracks and catch the bullet on video. It's always become too cloudy before it's become smelly. You want to make sure you get all these little white chunks out, broken down, so they don't add clumps in your finished product. I guess a whisk may be a better tool for the job. I just like using this spoon. You can see it's definitely thicker than we first started. I'm gonna let this set for a little while and I'll come back. I'm not gonna video it, but I'll come back after about 10-15 minutes, give it another stir, then another 10-15 minutes, give it another stir, at least for the hour and a half to 2 hours that I leave this. And then we'll be back to heat this up. We're gonna put it on a very low heat for a little while to melt it back down into the original kind of watery state. And then we'll pour it in our container, let it cool down to room temperature, and stick it in the fridge overnight, and in 24 hours it should be ready to use. For our container, what we're going to do is just take a tiny bit of oil . Just a tiny bit of oil in a paper towel. few dabs. And just very lightly go over the inside of the container. It helps keep it from sticking. When you get ready to set it free from the gel, it should just pop out from the mold. Might actually be a little bit too much, but this is a brand new container. It's never been greased before. Just a little bit. Okay. In here too. So it's been about 2 hours. It's definitely thickened up. It's fully bloomed. Looks like applesauce. I've put on a very low setting, and gonna have to kind of keep stirring and watching it as it starts to turn back to a watery form. Once it does, we'll pour it in the mold. Wanted to add that I only make 1 gallon at a time. That's because I want to preserve the clarity of my gelatin. Each time you use it, it gets just a little bit darker, and since I'm filming, I want it to be as clear as possible. It's also why I'm using this brand of gel instead of the Knox version. That's a little more orange, a little harder to see through. But when we reclaim this, eventually, you know, it's gonna not be so clear. I'm gonna make one of the other gel blocks that we've separated earlier, and that will be the clearest one. And then this will be used for a backing block or for a catch block. Eventually, the two will be mixed together, but when you're first making them, just making one at a time is best. I could make 2 at a time in here, but it's a lot of stirring, a lot of mess. It's easier to make 1 at a time. Just a little bit of trying to save you headaches later on. Been about 2-3 minutes. I can feel this getting a little thinner. We don't want it to be hot. You want it not to scorch on the bottom. A better option would be to use a double boiler. I just don't have a pan larger than this that I can set with some water in. But it should only be about 10-15 minutes till this is back. As soon as it's all water-like consistency, we're going to turn the heat off, let it cool to room temperature, and put it in the fridge. Maybe do it first thing in the morning. So that's it for right now. So it's actually been about 30 minutes of stirring. It's returned to its original form. And this is not hot by any means. It's like maybe if you left it in the car during the summertime. Enough to melt the gel. So we're just going to pour it in the container now. And I left a little receipt on the bottom of the container so you can see the clarity of this gel. perfect size container. We'll let this clear for a minute. A lot of it just air bubbles inside the gel. I'll actually cut the video here, but take a picture and add it. Okay, so we're on the second day after making the ballistics gel. I went ahead and made another gallon. I filled these 2 half-gallon containers, and this one is filled up to about here, was the leftover. What I intend on doing with these is cutting them into 3-inch sections to place in front of the initial gel block. And I got this idea from revolver aficionado, to use a piece of 1/4-inch medium density fiberboard to simulate a rib strike or sternum. So we're gonna have a 3-inch piece, 1/4-inch fiberboard, and then our regular gel. And I'm gonna also start in front of the gel block using a piece of fleece with 2 pieces of t-shirt material for clothing. And we will be, this is what it looks like coming out of the refrigerator. And when we're ready to use it, it likes to stick to the walls. You just get a little bit of air, just separate it a little bit at the top and the sides. Just get it to break contact, and just give it a slight tug on the side of the thing. When you see it's gotten pulled away, you let the air slide in between and it'll just slide right out, as you can see. I don't want to take it out right now because I don't want to risk tearing it. But yeah. And I'm going to make this a 2-part video. On the second part, I'll show you how to remelt this down and get all the little pieces of cloth and wood out of your gel. Thank you.